So, what would happen if you send the cyborg back in time? Well, let's find out. I'm Demetrius, and welcome to the Brumakian podcast. This is an episodic review series where I can review anything, but not everything, which includes monster movies, both big and small, anime, video games, and wrestling. This week is The Terminator. While he was in Rome, Italy for the release of Piranha 2: The Spawning, director James Cameron fell extremely ill and had a dream of a metallic figure rising from an explosion holding nothing but kitchen knives. After being inspired by director John Carpenter and his successful slasher film Halloween back in 1978, yes, I will review that one day, that dream became the launchpad for a slasher-style movie. James returned to Panama, California, and stayed with science fiction writer Randall Frakes in his house, where he drafted The Terminator. His influences were various science fiction films from the 1950s and the 1960s television series The Outer Limits, with films such as The Driver from 1978 and Mad Max 2. Then, Cameron hired his friend Bill Wisher, who had a similar approach to storytelling, to translate the draft into a script. Believe it or not, the original outline of the script had two Terminators being sent back to the past, but it was scrapped until it was picked up again in another film that I will get to later. Ooh, lovely foreshadow. Anyhow, this got the attention of Gail Ann Hurd, who bought the rights to the film for just $1. No, really, she actually did bought it for $1. Even James Cameron said he regretted selling his film for just $1. However, both Cameron and Hurd do have friends who work with Mr. Corman and were working at Orion Pictures, a film studio which today is owned by Amazon and a division of Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer Studios, MGM. Orion agreed to distribute the film under one condition: Cameron had to get the financial backing somewhere else. Thankfully, the script was picked up by Chairman and President of Hemdale Film Corporation, Don Daly. I hope I said that right. He and Vice President Derek Gibson became executive producers of the project. Actually, Daly himself didn't think that the project would be that interesting and didn't finalize the deal. So, Cameron had American actor and a friend of his, Lance Henriksen, dress up like the Terminator, barge into Daly's office, and scared the absolute shit out of him. True story. And it actually worked, and Daly agreed to help back the film, giving the project $4 million, later $6.5 million. Alright, now let's talk about that Austrian muscle man. Arnold Alois Schwarzenegger, born in 1947 in Austria, was a bodybuilder in the 1970s and was not a stranger of being in the acting business. Though in his early films, his Austrian accent was so thick that he was dubbed over. That must have sucked. But he made a breakthrough in the film Conan the Barbarian, released in 1982. He met co-founder of Orion, Mike Manavoy, and was given a project script by his agent. Believe it or not, he was originally casted as Kyle Reese, one of the main human characters. Actors Sylvester Stallone and Mel Gibson turned down the role of being the titular character, so the role of the Terminator landed on Arnold. This is what James Cameron had to say about it. Casting Arnold Schwarzenegger as our Terminator shouldn't have worked. The guy is supposed to be an infiltration unit, and there's no way you wouldn't spot a Terminator in a crowd instantly if they all look like Arnold. It made no sense whatsoever. But the beauty of movies is that they don't have to be logical. They just have to be plausible. If there's a visceral cinematic thing happening that the audience likes, they don't care if it goes against what's likely. Special effects director Stan Winston and music composer Brad Fiedel were hired for the project. Finally, The Terminator was released in American theaters on October 26, 1984, and it did more than break even. It made a profit. Critical response was at first mixed, but soon turned into positive over time by critics and audiences, and earned over $78 million at the box office. And here is its plot synopsis according to the film's opening scene, actually. The machines rose from the ashes of the nuclear fire. Their war to exterminate mankind had raged for decades, but the final battle would not be in the future. It will be fought here in our present, which would be 1984, tonight.
Nobody seems to care. Open your eyes. Who's there? Who's there? Open your eyes. Nightmare. Unclean. Fever dream of the right side in the main machine. Blood falling in the night. Can you take the fame? Better call the FBI. Better change your name. Open your eyes. Oh no. Oh no. Open your eyes. Creature. Unclean. Fever dream of the wild side in the main machine.
If you told me that this movie isn't sci-fi horror, I would have called you a liar, because the way that this movie is structured is like a horror film. Hell, the robot monster that you see on your screen right now is like a horror slasher. But like any other film that I reviewed, although rare, it is not perfect. For me, I would have liked it if the future wasn't shown all that much and kept pretty vague. And while I'm not knocking on the future scenes at all, I feel like Cameron showed way too much of it. One scene would have been enough. Aside from that though, this movie is a thrill to watch. Never before had it made me grind my teeth in anxiety over the main female, who was the target. I don't know what it is, but James Cameron knows his shots. I detect almost every single detail that there is, like when dogs in the future and present are able to detect machines and giving the heroes a warning. Speaking of the heroes, they're good, but could be better. Sarah and Kyle would have benefited from having a little bit more time together, but I get it, they have to run for their lives from being killed by the Terminator. There is one scene that made me scratch my head, but at least it made sense in the long run. Sort of. Now, it should be no secret that I love Arnold as the titular character. The fact that his Austrian accent is still there and the way that he methodically moves and scans his target is creepy as fuck, especially when his skin is being peeled off. Ugh. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, that scene made me shudder. In a good way. I am impressed when Stan wins his team on this. Remember, this is before a time where CG wasn't used on a regular basis, meaning practical effects are aplenty, and man do they look good. Yeah, the stop motion didn't age well. I mean, come on, it's not on the level of Harryhausen. And I must say, the music fits this movie perfectly. It's kind of futuristic techno music, which I'm not a fan of, but for the 80s, the mid-80s, it fits perfectly. Overall, The Terminator is a good watch. If flawed in some areas, and if you think about it too much, your head will explode. But as a movie, I think it works. Even if at points it screams 80s right in your face. Now hold on folks, we're not done with the year 1984 because there's one more movie that came out just 2 months later across the Pacific Ocean. Brace yourselves folks, the new era is about to begin. Sort of. Because the King of the Monsters is making his return. If you are just joining, and if you want to catch up, you can check out the remaster playlist on the screen in a minute now. Thank you all for watching / listening. Like, comment, and subscribe. If you do that, you'll get more eyes on the channel. This has been Demetrius signing off, and have a good day.